Today we're going to be discussing Neville Goddard's Father Forgive Them. We're going to discuss how Neville Goddard manifested his second wife and the tools around him manifesting his second wife, and how you can use these same tools to manifest anything you desire in your own life.
When I met the girl who now bears my name, who is the mother of my daughter, the very first moment I met her, I knew she is going to be my wife. She didn't know it, but I knew it. I said to myself, she doesn't know it, but she is going to be my wife.
Here you notice that Neville, with certainty, said that this particular person was going to be his wife, and he said 6 months later that was his wife. Many of us get into the technique, but we really miss what's happening here, and we'll discuss this a little bit more, but just keep this in mind. Neville said that she is going to be my wife, so he was coming from a place of certainty.
We sailed for Barbados 6 months later, and she met my mother, met my family, met them all. They all loved her. That was back in 1936. In New York City, because of some archaic law, it's now passed, you couldn't get a divorce unless she was insane for 7 years, or adultery, and that's all.
Had Neville looked on the without and judged according to appearance, he would have never married his second wife, because everything was stacked against him. How many times do we look at the circumstances on the without and allow that to determine the decision for us?
The Orthodox Christian churches have sewed the whole thing up so that it made life miserable and made everything simply, a burden to all. When I met her, I had just such an entangled background. And here is New York City, the most archaic city in the world concerning such laws. I went to bed and slept as though I were happily married to the girl who now bears my name. I did not have any physical emotion with her. Just she was sleeping there and I am here, and it's blissful. I did that for 1 solid week.
Now listen to what it is that Neville says. He says, listen, I went to sleep feeling happily married to the girl who now bears my name. He went to the inn and he saw himself sleeping in the bed next to his wife, and them being in the same room. He said, and he was in a state of bliss. So for subconscious mind, his vision was already a reality, and he took that vision to sleep with him. Now let me say this, many of us use this as a technique, but we miss what's being said. And what I mean by that is, Neville embodied being in that relationship. It wasn't an option. It wasn't a hope so. It wasn't a maybe so. If things just work out for me, could you pray for me? All the things that we do. In Neville's mind's eye, it was already done. He saw himself being married to the woman of his dreams. It was already done. He had already embodied it. He was just waiting on reality to catch up to his present state of knowing. Neville said that he did this for 1 solid week. For each of us, it may be different. For those who tell you that they can help you manifest anything in 24 hours, it's just not so, because each manifestation has its own appointed time. There's some things that will take only a matter of minutes. Other things may take years before the manifestation of that desired end. So you have to persist until you bring it about, or until you change your desired end. Understand, when you're operating from a state of being, the only thing you need to do is to occupy that state, knowing that it's already done. As you walk in the finished work of your desired end, reality will in fact catch up with you, but you have to be patient with the process. But like I said, Don't try to determine and say, well, it's going to happen in a week or it's going to happen in a month. That's not your business. That's God's business. Your business is to live in your desired end.
Then comes a telephone call from the court one morning, telling me that I must come down to this federal court on Tuesday morning. Well, I was groggy. It was early in the morning, and in those days I didn't rise as early as I do now. And so I just said, all right, and I hung up. After I hung up, I wondered, what on earth is all this nonsense? What have I done? I must be in court. I haven't received the summons. Not a thing. I must be in court. Well, on Tuesday morning that I'm supposed to be there, I made no effort to go there. And about 9:30, the phone rang. It's the court. And they say to me, you're supposed to be here in court this morning. We meet at 10. And I said, what on earth am I supposed to be in court for? They said, well, it happens that your wife is arrested. And you thought maybe you could throw some light on the reason for her arrest. That's why we're asking you to come down. Well, I wasn't shaved. I simply threw myself into some clothes and off I went to a taxi down to the court. And I got there just as they were bringing her in. Man whispered into the three judges, one judge's ear, that I was in the audience. The judge asked me to take you don't have to swear, but will you please take the stand and throw some light on the behavior of your wife? She tells me you've been separated now for almost 14 years. I said, yes. Is it a religious reason why you've been separated? I said, no, none whatsoever. We knew we were wrong the very first day we got married. We knew it was completely a failure. Right away. Then read the case. She was picked up for shoplifting. They went to her home and found other things in her home. I said, what do you say for this? I said, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think that really she is a shoplifter. As far as I'm concerned, she just moved under compulsion.
I want to pause here real quick because he said, as far as he's concerned, she just moved under compulsion. Two events happened to me recently that I thought were my ideals, and come to find out that I was moving, as it were, under compulsion. I reached out to a friend to see how she was doing and just let her know that I was thinking about her. She said the second that I reached out to her was the exact same moment that she had lost a dear friend, the exact time. And I realized at that moment that the dead friend was utilizing me as a conduit to speak to my friend and his friend. A second event took place. I was moved to call a friend of mine's, and I reached out to see how she was doing. She said that she had been thinking about me the whole week, and again, her thinking about me prompted me to call her. So Neville called this being moved under compulsion. Many of us are moved under compulsion, and we're believing that what we're doing is our own ideal, but there's often outside influences playing a role.
Taking into consideration her age, she's 8 years my senior, and she's passing through a certain emotional state. And do be lenient. We have a son, and he lives with me. And I don't want anything to happen to his mother that would cast any shadow on his life. He is a wonderful boy. He is in my charge by law. He is in my home, lives with me, and I don't want anything to happen to her that in any way would reflect upon my son. The judge said, in all of my years on the bench, I have heard no plea by one for another who has every reason in this world to get her committed, because that in any other state would be enough for what he wants, which is the divorce. And yet he pleads for her. He sentenced her to 6 months, and then on my plea, he suspended it. She met me on the outside and said, Neville, that was a very decent thing to do. give me my papers. She knew I was looking for them. And my dancing partner told her I was looking for to serve the papers and therefore to be scarce and move out of New York City. So she did. But she had to commit the act, and they had to call me and ask me to throw light upon that. How could I condemn her? Who was the actual cause of her shoplifting? I slept as though I were blissfully married to the girl who now bears my name.
Neville said that he slept as though he was already married to the woman who bears his name. And he did this in a state of bliss. He also says, listen, and I had to get the evidence. When you understand that what it is that you're imagining is already manifested, Mr. Linder will often say that it's only new as ideal. Everything else is secondhand. What does that mean? Everything is created first in the imagination, then reality has to outpicture the thing that you've imagined. Most of us don't stick with the image long enough, so we cause a spontaneous miscarriage of that vision. You have to hold on to the vision until it's brought about into your reality, or until you change your mind to something else more desirable. But whatever the case, you have to imagine it until you bring it about.
And I had to get the evidence. I had to get some reason to bring the action. And here my wife actually gave me the papers. I said, I don't have the papers with me. She said, I'm driving home to your place right now, and you can give me the papers. That's illegal, to serve your own papers. But she drove up to my hotel where I lived. I went to my room, came down to the lobby, and gave her the papers. Did my own serving. Now that is an illegal thing in this world. But then I got my divorce in the city of New York, then I could marry the girl who now bears my name.
Now understand, this isn't solely about manifesting your specific other. It's about all manifestation. You have to get into the state. Now, he often will get into the state before going to bed so that he could get that supplanted into his subconscious mind. But you can do this throughout the day. You walk as if you're already the person you desire to be. Not that you're hoping so, that you're trying to force it to be so, but that you already are whatever it is that you desire to be, do, or have. As you begin occupying the state of that person, as you begin holding that in consciousness and allowing it to filtrate down to your subconscious mind, reality, what we call reality, or the virtual reality, is going to begin to take shape according to what it is that you're imagining. Now, we do this all the time, but because we're doing it with everyday items, we take it for granted. Everything that you're doing, when you wake up in the morning and you decide, this is what I'm going to do with my day, that's an imagination at first, but then you bring about that concept, that ideal, into your reality. And like I said, you're doing this day in and day out. If you want to get it down into your subconscious mind, of course, as you've done it throughout the day, you're also going to sleep with the vision or the image of you having your wish fulfilled, whatever that thing is. And as you begin to do that consistently and persistently, your manifestation is well on its way. But remember this, creators, only you can create your perfect world. Not God or man. Only you can create your perfect world. This is Coach DeCarlo saying have a great and abundant day.